Hello, it's Valky here. So if you've ever wanted to beat the living bejesus out of someone with a book, here's your chance. Introducing the one-bar Alchemist. Not Alchemist, Arcanist. What even is this thing? Fights with a book. Anyway, it was pretty fun once I got into it. The rhythm is kind of soothing, despite the big grating mechanical sound. It sounds like a hydraulic drill going on outside your window. I liked it. I might play it. Probably a 2-bar version when it comes down to it next patch, but hey, you can do almost as good with 1 bar, and it's a heck of a lot simpler. So I will take a deep dive into the skills, the gear, champion points, and all the rest of that good stuff. Sit back and relax, enjoy the pass. If you don't enjoy the pass, just skip ahead and check out what gear and skills I needed. Alright, see you in a bit. Alright, I want to go into a bit more detail on the gear than I normally would, because Arcanist is new, and some of these gear sets you might not have used before, especially the Mythic, so I just want to go through everything in quite a bit of detail. We'll go through, first of all, and just say that this is a stamina Arcanist. We're using stamina as our main resource, and I think we've only got 1 Magicka skill in our bar. So therefore, we want everything to be divines with stamina enchantments on them. We're using 6 medium and 1 light. We're using Perfected Coral Riptide. If you don't have access to Perfected, don't worry about it. It's just a very slight DPS loss. So you want to do Dreadsail Reef, get yourself a set of Coral Riptide. It doesn't really matter which set you wear on the body and which you wear on jewelry and weapons, because it's a 1 bar set. They're all up constantly. So you've got Coral Riptide and Deadly. which is increasing the damage done by our channeled and damage over time effects by 15%. And as you'll see in the combat metrics, that is the vast majority of our damage. So this set is really perfectly suited to the Arcanist. On the head, we're wearing a Slime Crawl's Guise, just for that extra critical. Having one light gives us a boost to critical chance. We're already over crit cap, so the extra medium piece there wouldn't serve us. One light is a nice choice in my testing. So moving on to the jewelry, we've got core riptide or deadly jewelry, doesn't matter, in bloodthirsty with weapon and spell damage glyphs. Make sure you get the ones that add stamina recovery, because stamina recovery is really important to this build. On the necklace, I want to talk a bit about this. We've got Valky Mage's Amulet. It's one of the new mythics from Necrom, and it's adding 4,968 offensive penetration, which against the dummy and in a more optimized trial group doesn't matter, but might be really useful if your group is less optimized. It's giving us a whopping 15% damage done to monsters and 15% critical damage, but is reducing the damage of our light and heavy attacks by 99%. I mean, anyone could do a whole video just on this one amulet, but in essence, whether they nerf it or not, it's still going to be BIS for this particular play style of Arcanist, because we're doing very few light and heavy attacks since we're spending most of our time channeling. Certainly against the dummy, we have max penetration anyway, and we're way over crit cap. So the only thing that we're really looking for there is the fact that it's increasing our damage done to monsters by 15%. They can nerf the other stats as much as they want, and it's not really going to affect this build. Over to weapons, finally. As I said, it doesn't matter if you use Deadly or Core Riptide for your weapons, because it's only one bar. But it's quite important to have one of them on the front bar. That's the not front bar, main hand weapon, main hand weapon to be Nern honed, and the offhand weapon to be charged. We want one flame glyph and one poison glyph. Those both proc very regularly, and they give us 2 different dots, so it's a good way to go. So that is about it for our gear. There's some alternatives. For example, if you didn't want to use Core Riptide, I wouldn't go with Reliquin. You're not going to keep up the stacks. In fact, what I might actually suggest, if you've got an old set of Sororia hanging around, that might be a decent alternative to Core Riptide, but then you'd have to use it on weapons, jewelry, and one body piece. Let's see, anything else? War Maiden is decent for the same purpose. You could replace Core Riptide with it, but you're missing out on the Slayer. You've got a line of Magicka. It's just not going to get you the results. There's really no substitute for Core Riptide, but if you think outside the box, you could find something that you could replace it with to give you 90k plus damage without having to manage your stamina there with Core Riptide. Because if you're not familiar with the set, you do maximum damage with it when you have 33% or less max stamina, which is quite easy to achieve and maintain using this build. But if that's not your thing, there are some alternatives, but this one is going to be the best, along with Deadly, Valky Mage Amulet, and One Piece Slime Crawl. Now, let's take a look at our skills and see how these Arcanist skills are interacting with each other what this crux business is all about and how we're making it work for us. So I'll go through the skills one by one and talk about them a bit. So we're using this is our bread and butter skill that's producing a ridiculous amount of our max damage, over 60%. Exhausting Fate Carver, it's called. And you harness pure knowledge into a beam of energy that scars the world in front of you. That's quite dramatic. Channel the beam for up to 4 seconds, dealing magic damage every 0.3 seconds and snaring enemies hit by 15%. So what we're particularly concerned with here is the fact that when you cast the Fate Carver, it consumes all crux and increases damage done by 33% and duration by 0.3 seconds and snare by 15% per crux spent. So that means we always want to have the maximum amount of crux, which is 3. Have 3 crux maximum every time we cast this skill. So that's going to make this skill last 1 second longer and deal double damage from the original tooltip. The snare doesn't matter for PvE, so be it. Actually, it does slightly. Or does it? Who cares? So that's the essence of it. We want to have these 3 cruxes and to get huge damage from our exhausting Fate Carver. Now, I'm going to show you how we're going to get the cruxes. First of all, we have Recuperative Treatise here. Now, this ability deals a small amount of damage every 5 seconds, every time an enemy takes damage from a class ability, which is all the time, and restores 600 magic and stamina, and generates a crux if you have none. While slotted, it also gives you major brutality and major sorcery, increasing your weapon and spell damage by 20%. Okay, so what's going to happen is while we're channeling the exhausting Fate Carver, so long as Recuperative Treatise is up, it's going to give us 1 crux, because the Fate Carver takes all the cruxes. We have none. Recuperative Treatise is going to proc and give us 1 crux. We are then going to cast 2 Cephaliarch's Flail. These deal damage and generate crux every time they hit. It immobilizes enemies and marks them with Abyssal Ink. That Abyssal Ink increases your damage done to enemies marked by it by 5% for 20 seconds. This also has an execute effect, where it deals 100% more damage to enemies with less than 50% health. So, the Fate Carver is charging. It's channeling, rather. It takes all our crux. Recuperative Treatise procs and gives us 1 crux because we have none. We then cast 2 Cephaliarch's Flails. That gives us 3 crux. We're now at maximum. We cast another exhausting Fate Carver, which consumes all our crux. That is the essence of the rotation. Now, we also have Quick Cloak slotted here, and this is for a number of purposes. First of all, it's a lovely defensive skill. Gives us major evasion for 30 seconds and a bit of major expedition. It also deals a little bit of damage. But significantly, it procs our glyphs on our weapons. Okay, it procs our weapon enchantment. So while we're spending all this time channeling and not able to do light and heavy attacks, the Quick Cloak is still ticking over and proccing and giving us more and more damage based on the poison and flame glyphs that we have on our daggers. Now, to keep it simple, we put Camouflaged Hunter in on our final slot. It's passive damage because it's a Fighter's Guild ability. It gives us more weapon and spell damage. We can never have enough. It also gives Major Savagery and Prophecy. Look, we've got Major Savagery and Prophecy from Camo Hunter. We also have Major Brutality and Major Sorcery from Recuperative Treatise. That means that we have our spell crit, a weapon crit, and our weapon damage taken care of by the skill slotted on our bar. So if you want to use tripods or any other potions that you could possibly want to use, then feel free to use them, and you're still going to do maximum damage, because the effects that we would normally be using from our weapon damage pots are actually taken care of by the skill slotted on a bar. Now, finally, very hard-hitting ultimate, and it's also going to be buffed by Deadly, which is a damage over time effect. The Languid Eye. Now, I've done the calculations, and the Languid Eye hits harder than the other morph, the something king, Tide King. And the Languid Eye hits harder. It ramps up so that this every 0.5 seconds the beam's damage increases by 7%. So over the course of the 6 seconds, the damage increase by that ramp up effect gives you more damage than would having 2 extra seconds on top of the effect. It's a huge burst ultimate, costs 200, radius of 5 meters, so it's area of effect. It all ties in very nicely. So let's have a quick look at the passives here. The Herald of the Tome ones, that's a damage line of Arcanist, are the most significant. So when we spend or gain Crux, we increase critical damage and critical healing by 12% for 7 seconds. We will be having that up 100% of the time because we're constantly gaining and spending Crux. This will also be up constantly. When we restore Magicka or Stamina, increase your weapon and spell damage by 5% for 10 seconds. Well, we've got this ability here, Recuperative Treatise. It's constantly giving us back Magicka and Stamina. Psychic Lesion. So all of our status effects, so Poisoned and Burning in particular, are dealing 15% more damage. And we're getting lots and lots and lots of penetration. If you're in a 4-player group or unoptimized group, you've got pen cap in medium armor, which is crazy, without even trying. So that's what an Arcanist has going for it. So these are the skills we're using. I've tried lots of different combinations, and this is the best result. You don't really even need to have a different trash setup and boss setup. You're just doing massive AoE damage all the time, and really bursty. So we've got Exhausting Fate Carver, Cephaliarch's Flail, Recuperative Treatise, Quick Cloak, Camo Hunter, and the Languid Eye. The rotation is essentially keep up your buffs, which are Recuperative Treatise and Quick Cloak, cast 2 Cephaliarch's Flail, and 1 Exhausting Fate Carver. 2 Cephaliarch's Flail, 1 Exhausting Fate Carver. Ultimate when ready, and repeat. We're going to set up our champion points to optimize our damage over time and area of effect damage, which is being dealt by our Exhausting Fate Carver, Cephaliarch's Flail, and Languid Eye. So in order to achieve that, we want to have the 2 that are absolutely essential: Biting Aura to increase your damage done with area of effect attacks, and Thaumaturge to increase your damage over time. We've got Wrathful Strikes here because it's one of the few champion points nodes that's going to increase our damage regardless of whether it's direct or damage over time. So it's a nice balance. We have Exploiter, which we're using against the dummy, which will also be good if you've got anyone running lightning staves in your group, which I'm sure there will be. There always are, hey? Make sure that you take all of the non-slottable passives in here, for the ones for both magical and martial status effects, because that applies to flame and poison. And make sure you've got your max stamina and max magicka taken from along the sides. Now, in the case of fighting against the dummy, we definitely don't need Fighting Finesse or Backstabber. You may find that if you're playing solo or in a 4-player group where there's rarely any Warhorn, there's nothing of that kind, then you might want to take Fighting Finesse or Backstabber. You can replace it with for either Wrathful Strikes or Exploiter. But for the purpose of parsing, and so long as you've got Lightning Stave users in your group, you can use Exploiter safely. The red tree isn't going to affect your damage, but I would definitely start Rejuvenation because you want as much stamina recovery as you can possibly get with this build. I like to have Celerity. It's nice for movement and survival. Boundless Vitality give you some more health, and Expert Evasion is great for your stamina sustain. Your first dodge every 30 seconds is free. Over on the green tree, I didn't even have green CP slotted for the parse because they make no difference. But you might want to have liquid efficiency, so 10% chance your potion isn't used up, and you might want to have a rationer to increase the duration of your food. Some food's quite expensive. And you might want Steadfast Enchantment, just so that your weapon charges don't run out and you're caught mid-fight with no charges on your weapons. So that's CP, nothing innovative there, just optimizing for huge AoE damage over time rune carvers. So we'll just round off the build with the peripherals. We're using the Thief Mundus Stone to increase our critical chance. There's probably not going to be any substitute for that, really. So yeah, go with the Thief. For the parse, we're using Lava Foot Soup and Sultress, which is max stam and stamina recovery. I think for a lot of real content, you're going to be able to use bi-stat food. So max health and max stamina blue food. So that's what I'll be going for myself once I'm in there, to give myself a bit more max health. But against the dummy, you're constantly parsing. You don't really want to do heavy attacks, so yeah, you want as much stamina recovery as possible. As you can see here, shame, shame, shame. She's a dark elf. I've betrayed the high elves, the old Merry Dominion, in order to get maximum damage for this video. And yeah, she's got 1600 stamina recovery. You need every one of it if you want to use Coral Riptide comfortably. Yeah, as you see, all the points into stamina. No other way of doing that. And she's not a vampire. She's not a werewolf. I don't think that will make any difference. So yeah, you've got your food, you've got your race, you've got your attributes, you've got your recovery. I think that's about it. So finally, I'll just show you the combat metrics. Oh my god. Maybe I won't. Maybe I'll have to find it on a different video, because that's really totally bugged out.